And the next live session, the superpower session about the power of sound, with Belinda Carlisle, CC White, Dana Kingsburg, Nina Rao, moderated by Felicia Tomasco. All these four musicians or chanters, whatever title is, they all participated this June also, and I'm so grateful that everybody's here. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. So let me just introduce quickly. So Belinda Carlisle, who's joining us from Mexico City, she just got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Go-Go's just last week. Congratulations. We researched that only 8% of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees are women. So she definitely broke that, glass ceiling. Congratulations. And Belinda has been supporting us since last year's gala, where Belinda and Donna Delori donated that Satsiri Fun Mantra music for us. And I learned about, you ended that session saying, don't underestimate the power of mantra. So that stayed in mind, and it kind of led to this session also. But Belinda also founded Animal People Alliance in Calcutta. That kind of also got my attention. She's helping girls from Red District in Calcutta to take care of street dogs. If you have been to India, you know there are a lot of dogs on the streets. A lot of them are not well taken care of. So the girls are getting this job to take care of these dogs, animals. And that's a wonderful work. And Belinda recently also joined our advisory board. So thank you for being here. And CC White, she also joined YGB Ambassador recently. She's known as the Queen of Kirtan. She grew up with a beautiful mother who sang gospel opera, gospel music. And she's been singing with a gift from divine since the age of 2. So she really shared the powerful kirtan during the Global Gathering for India. And since then we talked, and thank you for becoming YGB Ambassador, sharing our mission also. Dana Kingsburg, joining from Australia, who has been an ambassador for a long time. She's known as a poet, singer, speaker, teacher, mother. And Dana draws on all of these aspects to deliver a message of self-awareness and self-empowerment. I have met Dana at Ashtanga Yoga Conference in San Diego some years ago, and I kind of chased her to join us. And she joined YGB Ambassador, and she's been supporting us from Byron Bay in Australia. So thank you so much for being here with us. I think it's evening there.
No, early morning.
Yeah, in the morning, sorry. And Nina Rao is joining from New York. She's somebody I met also through a Global Gathering for India. A lot of people know she chants with Krishna Das, of course, for many, many years. But since we met at the Global Gathering for India, we had some interviews, and I learned also that she has such deep root. Of course, she's an Indian, person from India, but she has grown up with, deep-rooted culture of chanting. And I'm looking forward to hearing her perspective of the sound of chanting. And Felicia Tomasco, who agreed to be our moderator today for this powerful session. She's a longtime Yoga Gives Back supporter, and now she's on the board of directors. And she integrates more than 30 years of study of yoga and Ayurveda with her training and active licensure as a registered nurse. And she heads LA Yoga and Bliss Network, and constantly helping Yoga Gives Back. So I'll pass it to Felicia for this very exciting, one-of-a-kind female vocalist, artist, chanter, rock and roller session about the power of sound. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Kayoko, before you sign off, I just want to take a moment and thank you so much for your use of the power of sound and your voice for the empowerment of women worldwide. And that is such a through line in this work of Yoga Gives Back. Of course, it is about empowering women and entrepreneurs and education and youth in India. But in doing so, you have cultivated and created and inspired a worldwide community, not just of women, but of people who are using their voice to uplift each other in so many amazing ways. So thank you so much. Thank you for sharing these beautiful and heartfelt introductions. And I am honored and humbled to be here moderating this panel of very powerful, powerful, powerful voices. So thank you. And thank you all, Belinda, Cece, Nina, and Dina, for being here today. And some of you I know personally. Dina, this is the first opportunity I'm getting to meet you in sort of real life, in real virtual life. And thank you for joining us early in the morning from Byron Bay. Thank you for joining us, Belinda, from Mexico City. Cece, thank you for joining us with all of your beautiful radiance. And Nina. So all of you have used your voices throughout your life in so many ways, in so many different kinds of music, in so many different genres of music, in teaching, in singing, in song. And all of you really have pushed the boundaries and the barriers in terms of how not just music, but sound can be a source of upliftment and a source of hope and a source of connection and a source of the sacred. So I just want to honor the contribution that each and every one of you has made in terms of this sacred art. So thank you all so much for being here and for everything that you have given throughout the entirety of your life. Keiko and I discussed some questions and some things, and I know that everyone here who is watching from around the world in real time live, because this is happening live, and those of you who will be watching this later, really want to hear from these amazing panelists. So I have the first question I'd like to ask each one of you is to share a pivotal moment or experience in your personal journey with sound. And that can be any kind of music, any kind of sound. So what's something that is a pivotal moment in your journey? And maybe there are too many to name, but if you'd be willing to share one. So Belinda, would you be willing to start us off with this idea of the pivotal moment?
I think, well, myself, I've been chanting on and off for about 30 years. With my Kundalini yoga practice. And I think my pivotal moment though was I struggled with drugs and alcohol for years and years. And I was trying to find my way with chanting. It had come to a point where life was sort of untenable for me. I decided in a nutshell that I needed to get sober, and my life was it was a disaster, a complete disaster. And I started chanting 2 to 3 hours a day when I should have been slitting my wrists, basically. And I can't tell you the life force and the I think that's when I realized that, I always said that I love to chant, I love the way it sounds, I love the way I feel, but for me, that experience of when my life was a complete disaster, and chanting 2 to 3 hours a day, sometimes twice a day, for the first month of trying to get my life together and trying to get sober, I can't tell you how I felt. I was like elated, but I shouldn't have been elated. So I thought there's something to this. And that was probably my pivotal moment. I mean, I've had a lot, but I think with my experience with mantra, that's probably it for me.
Well, thank you for sharing such a powerful and vulnerable experience. And it sounds like too that chanting and that practice of doing it was a lifeline at that time as well.
Totally.
And and we know the vibrational quality of it, and we're all happy that you are here to share that with us. And I think that many people could also gather hope from those moments of, that in those moments of darkness, there is a lifeline through chant and through mantra and through
Absolutely.
song.
I have chills just you saying that, because that is my experience.
Yeah. Nina, is there something that you would be willing to share that is a pivotal moment for you?
For sure. First, I want to say hi to everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Belinda, nice to meet you again, outside of India.
Yeah.
And Felicia, after so long, and Cece, and Dina, nice to meet you. I was trying to think of a pivotal moment, and I think it didn't even actually happen with mantra. It happened as a child when I went to a Catholic school. We traveled all through my childhood in different countries. We grew up in different places, and I went to the chapel with all the kids on the weekly mass that they had. And I found that singing the hymns together with the other kids and with everybody was really my home. I didn't understand, even though it wasn't my religion, so to speak, because we practiced differently at home, very simply, but we did practice at home as Hindus. And at the very same time in my life, I went back to my grandfather's home in the south of India. And I guess I never knew. My grandfather was, an engineer for the British government, but there was a harmonium in his home. And he just didn't seem like a musician type. He wasn't really artistic, I thought. Until I said, and I wanted to learn harmonium and play music. I never trained in music at all. But I asked him one day to show me how to play the harmonium. And he said, I will, if you sing with me. And so we all came together, my sisters and my cousins, and then suddenly my mom and my aunts, people who I had no idea knew how to sing. And it's not even about being a musician, but really coming together in satsang to sing. And I said, sure. And so he did this chant to Ganesha without us knowing what the meanings of the words were, anything like that. And again, I had that feeling of just coming home. And I think having traveled around the world so much in our little nuclear family and living in different communities, different cultures, coming into a place where people were all together and chanting with the same intention, with this idea of devotion and community pointed in that direction, was really, when I look back on it now, I understand better why I was so drawn to it, until I forgot. And I had to be reminded when I moved back to New York and I started practicing yoga. And I first heard Krishnadas sing, and it kind of all came back to me at that time. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Nina, I love that so much. And I think that you've spoken to something that so many people feel, which is the power of community that happens through chant, and the power of an art form and a sacred art form that also is accessible, right? That we can all access, that we can all participate in. And there's something that is so meaningful about that. So just love that so much, and how this has been a through line for you throughout your entire life, where you have lived in many places throughout the world, and even in different iterations of your family, right? As a child and as now. So,
and now too, yeah. And now my daughter chants, this is what we do.
yeah, I love that so much. So Dina, you bring in chant as part of the community work that you do. And again, this aspect of community is so important. Could you talk about something that you see as a pivotal moment?
I think that my experience is more organic, rather than being able to isolate something pivotal in my experience. It's been kind of a natural meandering. I'm highly disciplined as a yoga practitioner. to the point of almost obsession. So I allowed the vehicle of sound to be something that was other than that. And for it to be like just a personal joy rather than a regimental part of the process. But what I would like to share that was quite astounding or profound for me was that despite all of those years of attempting to cultivate liberation through discipline, the practices gave me stability and gave me a sense of being grounded and earthed and centered. But it's the inclusion of sound, specifically introduced through what was a long time cultivated silence. Like, I live in the forest a long way from anywhere. I'm not an overly outspoken person on social media, or like silence is rare and precious. So when you add sound to silence, it adds a potency. So it has actually been through that process that I have gleaned, beyond just intellectual concept, what the word yoga, union, connectivity is trying to describe. It's through sound that I've accessed that rather than through the other practices. So that's been an extraordinary insight and gift. Yeah. So that's what I'd like to share.
I think those gifts of stability, especially in the world we live in, not just today, but throughout life, is so key and so important. So thank you for that insight.
But it's the chanting that brought the joy and the light and the ether to balance out that earthy stability. It was like the other end of the spectrum that kind of cultivated the change that I was seeking through the other methodologies.
Yeah, that's really powerful too, because that speaks to kind of an alchemical nature of sound in a way.
Definitely. Thank you.
Cece White, you bring so much soul into your voice and your music. And I don't know if there's a pivotal moment that you have or something that you would be willing to share.
Hi. I want to make sure I haven't been able to regulate my microphone, so I'm hoping it's not too loud. Is it okay? Is it okay?
I think it's okay. Yeah.
Amazing. Hello, ladies. Beautiful, stunning, powerful queens, goddesses. I am really happy to be here. I had a beautiful conversation with Felicia the other night. It was almost a podcast. It was beautiful, and I love you because of that. Music is my best friend. Music is something you can always turn to definitely bring out an emotion or a feeling. It's healing. It uplifts you. It definitely moves you. And I know that all of us are very grateful to have it in our lives. For me, if anything, I've got like 5 pivotal moments, so I'll go ahead and narrow it down to 2 if I can. Most definitely, my mother, my dear, sweet, beautiful mother, has a lot of sisters who sing. And she sang when I was in her womb. How do I remember this? I'm not sure, but she tells me that she did. I remember that feeling. So really, music found its way into my molecular structure. And when I was born, at 2 years old, my mother used to sing this song called Let There Be Peace on Earth, which is one of my favorite songs in the entire world. And she tells the story of I was sitting on my father's lap in church, and my mother was singing it. And I lit up like a Christmas tree. I began to sing along with her at 2, crawled up on my father's lap and reached out to my mother as she was singing it, because I remember her singing it. It gets me a little emotional singing it to me when I was in her womb. And so in the womb, out of the womb, being born, having that connection with music, I feel as if I know it has been a part of me all my life. So that was a pivotal moment. It was like an injection of love and through music. The second pivotal moment was when I was invited to a session. And as Nina had said, it was for Kirtan, and it was a chant for Saraswati, and I had no idea what was going on. The song should have taken an hour and a half. 7 hours later, Donna Delory was at that session, so we talk about it a lot. We were so giddy, so high from the beauty of chanting, the emptying out of everything, and allowing yourself to just absorb the nothingness of the sweetness. And we giggled and we fell all over each other, and we just couldn't figure out why we were just so intoxicated with chanting and the beauty of it. And we finally got the song done. Person in charge was just so annoyed with us, although he knew. And I went home instantly, and delved into what was that? What was that about? What did it mean? I want it in my life forever. And that was the beginning of that road. The third, and I'm cheating, of course, is with Shyam Das Ji. And it was a moment where I met him first at Bhakti Fest along with Radhanath Swami. And he invited us to a kirtan he was doing at the Beastie Boys drummer's house. And I went along with a friend of his, Cooper, who was doing sound. And I was in awe of Shyam Das, as everyone was, still is, with the spirit still here with us. And I sat to the side, my eyes big as I don't know what, just in wonder, as he's setting up. And as Jai and I think Krishna Das has spoken, when Shyam speaks, you sit and you do what Shyam Das says. He says, you sit here. And I was next to him, and I was, no. He said, you sit here and you chant with me now. And I got up, my legs found their way beside him, and that was the first time I shed rivers of tears. And after that, whenever I would chant with him, I just cried uncontrollably. He sweetly would glance at me, and he knew that I was absorbed in the beauty of chanting. And he slowly shoved a box of tissue over to me while he was chanting, so I could wipe my eyes. And it was the sweetest thing. And afterwards, he held me for so long, and I just wept and wept and wept, the sweetest tears. And he said, Leela, when you weep within the mantra, you become the mantra. And I will never forget that moment of chanting. To be incorporated, or to have that moment with Shyam Das and understand exactly what the strength and the beauty and the awe of mantra and chanting was something I'll never forget. Shyam Das Ji. And those were 3 pivotal moments in my life regarding music and chanting.
I have to say it is a little bit of an unfair question, is it not, right? Because hopefully we do have the opportunity to have so many pivotal moments in our lifetime.
I can skip 2 more questions because I've cheated. So,
well, and you've spoken so much again, Cece, about this power of love that we receive through sound, through music, through chanting in so many different ways, as well as the power of community, as well as the power of transmission, the way we transmit energy through music and through sound. And you know, in many ways, my next question is one that you all have answered in a little bit, you know, of a perspective, but would love to hear more. And I think the people listening would love to hear more too, of how does the power of sound help your life, right? You know, beyond the pivotal moments, you know, what are those things that the power of sound helps you tune into? Those of you who live by sound in so many ways. So I'm going to go in the same order again, just to cue you all up. So Belinda, would you be willing to share something about this continued power of sound?
Well, I think for me, I mean, you know, music's been part of my life since growing up, and you know, I've been singing, like, I guess semi-professionally since I was 17. So it's always been a big part of my life. But I think with mantra, I was told when I started, after when I got sober, I really got into it, and started studying what the different mantras mean, and picking things that I felt were suitable for what I would be going through at that, you know, whatever point in my life. So, and I was told, you know, one day you're going to realize that your perspective on everything has totally changed and you don't know why. And that completely happened to me. And I think for me, I mean, I can't really even put it into words, but I know for me, I've reaped so many benefits from the power of sound, too many to even go into. But even with music that isn't to do with mantra, I mean, it's like I can feel the nod of Barry Gibb, you know. So it's I don't know. It's made my life better. It's made me a better person. You know, I still have, you know, a lot of work to do, but I think it's made me a better person. Made me nicer.
I believe that. I believe that it works for all of us, hopefully, right? Hopefully we all become.
For me, I can't really put it into words because I don't really study it. I just feel it. So, you know.
But that is the study, right? It's the experiential, it's the feeling. And I think so much, you know, when we look at this, is yoga gives back, right? What is yoga? Yoga is the experience. What do we do when we study yoga? We're practicing. It's the experience. So that's vital.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nina, do you have something that you want to say about, you know, this ongoing power of sound in your life and the benefits or how it helps you?
Well, it's an interesting question about the power of sound, because I'm actually dealing with a very noisy fan that's outside of our house right now. It's just driving me crazy. And I've been thinking a lot about sound, actually. And, you know, like everyone, we all resonate with music, whatever music we might be listening to. I have a particular interest in Indian classical music, and I like folk music a lot. But it's only when I started chanting mantra is that I understood that this was the direction I wanted to be turned in. This is the yoga, this is the practice, that there even is a practice. And, you know, as Belinda is saying, she feels like she's a better person. I really believe that, and this is what the teachings also say, these mantras are sound transmissions from the rishis, from the seers who did intense tapasya. And they received knowledge in the form of these sound syllables. And the knowledge is transmitted to the rest of us through the sound syllable in that language, so to speak. But we all hear it the way we need to in order to improve our lives. And so in the ancient texts of mantra, if you want to go back to Vedic mantra, for example, those mantras are associated with so many different aspects of our lives. Specifically, there are specific Vedic texts that have to do with aligning yourself with nature, about your health, peace mantras, so on. And then there are also those that are related to deities, but what do the deities represent? The deities represent these forces that we are made up of and that make up the universe. So how do we align in such a way that we're not combating everyday life that's coming through us. You know, we have to face each moment in a particular way. So the instruction seems to come through the experience of chanting the mantra, hearing the sound, and then an opening up of the heart and quietening the mind. So, and the beauty of it is that there are so many different types of mantras. You can always choose the one that resonates. You know, Belinda worked on certain mantras at that time of her life that she felt was going to be helpful for her. And then there are more general mantras that basically are just simply bowing down, you know, bowing down to the divine in each one of us, whether it's in the form of Ganesha or Saraswati or Jesus or, you know, whoever this divine entity is, who is us. And we can't make that connection because they seem like something outside of us. So how do we connect with that place inside of us? And that's what the mantra helps us do so that we can live our lives in a better way. And for me, this has been my path of practice, is just, you know, singing kirtan as well, but also practicing more of the traditional root practices of mantra repetition and having the experience of actually doing it and seeing how it helps me in my life. So it's definitely ongoing, you know, but it also includes, you know, the beautiful thing about recitation is also the ability to hear. So you develop this ability to hear. And when you hear, you know, like Dina's out in the forest, this is where I want to be all the time too. I wish I could stay here all the time, but I live in the forest, the jungle of Brooklyn for half the time. But you find as you get into this space, into a more quiet internal space, which is where our silence lies, you also get to hear, you know, the pulsating of the universe, which includes the birds, the wind in the trees, and also the irritating fan that's outside. But be able to hold all of that at once. Like that to me is the great gift of this practice or any practice, but this happens to be my practice. And mantra is the seed, the vehicle through which this wisdom is transmitted. That's how it feels to me.
Well, Nina, and you've also spoken so much to the experiential aspect of this, that the mantra being the seed of this transmission, and then what happens is your experience of it. So in terms of the power of sound in your life, it is about the experience. And, you know, that's, you know, so beautifully said. And there are so many different sounds in the universe, in whatever jungles in which we live, you know, the cities and the trees and all of it. And how do we become friends with all of the sounds? But the particular sounds of, you know, these transmissions. And I love what you brought forth in terms of the rishis and how we in the present day, you know, are continuing that tradition by listening. And
because it's an oral tradition. So that's, you know, I mean, originally it was, as stuff started to get written down, and then things changed over time, and there were all these different types of mantra repetition, you know, whether you're practicing Kundalini yoga, or you're, you know, in the Sikh lineage, or you're from South India, or wherever you might be, or Krishna Bhakta, you know, there's so many, but it's in all the traditions, you know, whether you're listening to Benedictine monks, or, you know, whatever it might be, or just singing with your school choir.
Yeah. So Dina, from your jungle, what are some of the ways that the power of sound continues to help your life?
Firstly, I'd like to thank Nina, because a lot of what you said really resonated with me. In fact, it took all my answers to the question. No, not really. You know, from a very early age, all of us are tonified by the sounds of our mother sharing a lullaby. And so we're connected with that soothing quality. For myself, regardless of what I'm feeling, if I'm anxious or stressed or nervous, if I'm sad, whatever I'm feeling when I begin the process of chanting, it tends to be neutralized. And I'm brought back to a sense of equilibrium, like a clean slate or a fresh start or an empty canvas. It's so simple and so potent. So for the first place, I find it very restorative for the nervous system to just make repetitious sound. When spending time in India, it's kind of the opposite, because there's this cacophony of layers of every possible sound, but there is always this undercurrent or front line of somebody in prayer. And it's part of the tapestry of life. So how does it help me? It helps me because my background in chanting came from the top and the tail of my practice. There were invocatory mantras that were kind of compulsory and sort of get you in. But what they do is they unite a community of practitioners with that call and response, the listening, the receptivity, and then the mimicking or the sharing of sound in reverence, and just setting up an internal environment of spirituality. And then from there, it led through studies of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, where the premise behind those teachings is really Chittam Vritti Nirodha, having some capacity or ability to quieten the chattering of the mind, to reach an internal stillness. Because whatever you think affects what you say, and whatever you say or express will have a relationship with another. And then that communication will evoke emotion, and that emotion will affect what you think. And so the cycle continues. So whatever is happening in your mind is going to affect whatever is happening in your day. And whatever is happening in your day is going to affect your relationships. And these moments in these relationships culminate in your life. So by having a way to silence or turn down or neutralize the internal drama of your mind, be it through asana or pranayama, or really effectively through some form of chanting, then you affect your trajectory, you affect your path, you affect your role or your play. So for myself, having tools such as mantra, or just sound vibration, or sutra, or prayer, I'm able to center into the best space within myself. And then from that space, offer the gifts of sound through teaching, through chanting I chant for people's weddings, or when someone is making the transition from life to death. And so the practice itself helps me to come from an authentic place when trying to share those processes with other people. I'm not a performer, I'm not a musician, but I am totally in appreciation of what music and sound can offer.
Well, and Dina, I think what you've said too, that we don't have to be a musician to be a chant, to be somebody who is continuing this chanting, continuing this tradition. And in so many ways that you're sharing it, it's so meaningful, and you're helping others as well as helping yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cece, how do you find that the power of sound continues to help you in all of the ongoing pivotal moments?
Well, first and foremost, the beauty of going last is I get a chance to lose myself in what all of you all are saying, and I certainly want a copy of this. This session, I know, would like to listen to it again and again and again. Felicia, I'm so happy that you're doing this. I'm so happy that you are moderating this, and thank you for all of what you all said. I feel like saying what she said, because All of it is beautiful. Belinda said something so profound. We are all unfinished in our souls, and we are always learning, always being taught. Sometimes the teacher, sometimes the student. Nina, beautiful, beautiful, wise, stunning, powerful Nina spoke about the deities and the chants and the mantras, and certain mantras are for certain things. And Dina, what you spoke about, the mother tone, which I just spoke about my mother singing to me in her womb. What I know is what I know, and music is a miracle. I've seen it change people on the spot. I've seen it tender hearts. When in doubt, I pray, I sing, I chant. When angry, when sad, when happy, when tearful. I'm still first. And as Belinda said, it changes you and you become a nicer, more peaceful and understanding person. We're still powerful no matter what, especially as goddesses. And that's very important. But music is the great communicator. Wherever you go in this world, whatever language you speak, from 1-year-olds to 95 to 100-year-old. I guess I've met 101-year-old beings. Music is the one thing that just eliminates, in my experiences, all anger, arguing, miscommunication, confusion. It just tenders everyone, and we all gather and share these moments. And we remember how it feels. And we remember how everyone else feels around us. And we remember the way we look at one another when we're lost in the beauty of this power of music from the heart. It has changed me. I cannot live without it. I'm sure it has changed every one of you all. And as far as musicianship, my goodness, I've played piano, I majored in musical studies, I've sung since I can remember, and a mantra is a mantra is a mantra. Every voice is stunning. Every voice is gorgeous. Have you ever noticed when you chant, every single person in the audience, they all sound like angels. Everyone sounds beautiful. No one is out of tune. No one's throw all that out the window. Everything is as it should be. And this is something that I hold close to my heart. The miracle of music, the honor of sharing it, the honor of being able to erase that line of the audience and the kirtaniya, the kirtan, or just the front person, just erase the line. Everybody comes together. Everybody's chanting and dancing. I have to tell you, I miss it, and we will be doing it again, and I cannot get over. I can't get over the beauty of it, and the raw, divine, natural, powerful, freeing, wild, sweet miracle of music. That is, to me, the power of music, and I thank the divine, and I thank you all of you all, that we're all able to do this together and that we're talking about it today. Dhanyavad.
Cece, thank you. It's again speaking to that community, that way that we uplift each other. And Kyoko is sharing some of the chats from people watching this right now in terms of their inspiration, their thanks to all of you, and the fullness of heart that is coming forth that we are sharing across this global community. So speaking of that, what is some advice that you would all give to people for how they can include sound in their lives a little bit more, and maybe more powerfully, and maybe through this sacred art? So Belinda, would you be willing to offer some advice?
Well, you know, I mean, I come from, you know, a completely different musical background, but once I started listening to devotional music and mantra and kirtan, I can't listen to anything else. And once in a while I'll put something else on, but that's primarily what I listen to. I think I would suggest, I mean, if anybody has Spotify or Apple Music, I mean, that's a good place to start. And, you know, I made a complete channel on Apple Music of different devotional, you know, my devotional channel. So I think what the way I reel my friends in is usually taking them to a yoga class, because usually a Kundalini class does include music and chanting. It's based around that. So I've turned a lot of people on to different artists in that genre. And in fact, I did make one mantra album myself, Wilder Shores, where I incorporated my background in pop music. And I thought, well, why can't mantra be put into a pop song format? And that reached a lot of people who would normally not listen to mantra. And they did a dance remix of one of my tracks, Adi Shakti, and they were playing it in clubs. And I thought, I love that people are like getting mantra without even realizing it. And I don't, that's how I usually do it. I mean, most of my friends are sort of in the community anyway. And even like when I'm touring with the Go-Go's, we have mantra going on backstage in the dressing room. So a lot of the girls are into mantra. So yeah, I would start with making a little channel and just trying to find the artists that you resonate with.
Well, Belinda, your album Wilder Shores is just so beautiful, and I think also a great entry point for people to listen to. And I know Nina and Cece have some amazing music, and so there's a lot of just options out there for people who want to start incorporating listening to sacred music in their life, playing it as kind of their soundtrack, tuning in and tapping into those recommendations and those channels and having it in so many areas. So thank you for producing that music yourself and for sharing it with others.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nina, what advice would you give?
Well, listening is definitely one half of the practice. And, you know, during this COVID time, I've been doing a lot of virtual kirtan, which has been interesting because I can't hear everybody else singing, which is something like Cece was talking about. You know, that's the beauty of coming together and chanting and hearing people's voices. But on some level, you start to hear yourself, and then it's not even yourself, it's just the chant. And I think that the other half of chanting as a practice is the actual chanting yourself. Whether you're a musician or not, it really doesn't matter at all. And my guru, you know, prayer changes things. Prayer just changes things. And mantra repetition is prayer. Whether we want to direct it to a specific cause, you know, if somebody's not well, you want to help them, you want to chant mantra for their well-being, or you want to chant to the trees because you're having climate grief. I mean, there's so many reasons why we chant. We chant to bless the food we're about to eat. You know, there's so many reasons why we chant. But if we simply want to just adopt the chant practice as a spiritual practice, like all practices, it has to be done regularly. So whether you do 5 minutes a day or you chant for 4 hours a day, you know, whatever it is, pick what it is that you want to do. If you want to chant to yourself, that's okay. If you want to listen to something and chant, that's okay. If you have a group or a community where you can go and chant, that's also okay. But I think if we're to use, sorry, 1 second here. If we are to chant as a practice, it's important to have a discipline. So find something that you like to chant, whatever that is for you, And like Belinda was saying, there's a lot of options out there now, because music is and chant is available for us everywhere. And so my suggestion is to find a time of day that you like to do the practice. Pick something that you like to do and do it regularly for as little time as you, it doesn't matter, even if it's just 5 minutes, just do it.
Nina, thank you for that permission to everyone to get started, right? That permission, because sometimes I think people can hold back. Well, I'm not a professional. I don't know what to do, but there are so many recordings out there that you can listen to a chant along with. And there are even people like yourself who are doing kirtan online. So you don't even have to travel somewhere. You can start to bring it into your home and to start to use your voice along with the voice of so many angels that are out there. So.
And I think the thing to remember also is that it doesn't require any initiation, really. You know, there are some obviously very specific practices where you do want to have a teacher give you something. But this practice of mantra repetition, singing kirtan, is open to everyone. And, you know, like Cece was saying, when you have that experience, and we've all experienced it in our own way, and so have the thousands of people around the world who chant, is you, from the inside, you feel your heart opening into love, into its own self. And that's all the encouragement that you need, you know, or permission you need.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nina. I think that's so important for us to remember, that we can get started with these practices and start to practice them regularly. So Dina, you've spoken earlier about discipline and discipline in your own practice, and you've spoken about chant in your own life. What advice would you give?
I'd like to start by echoing what Cece and Nina shared about that there is no need to be musical, that there is no need to have the perfect voice. Personally, I used to shy away from singing happy birthday publicly, and yet here I am in such esteemed company. So thank you for that. Thank you for that invitation. What I would like to share is that it is an incredible tool for freeing yourself from trauma, from sadness, from depression, from pain, from fear. And basically, chanting is just sound added to breath. And we can all breathe. And if we breathe deeply, a deep inhalation, an inspiration, we become uplifted and inspired. So all we need to do is put a little sound vibration on the exhalation, and with that, let go of whatever is bothering us and inhale with generosity. There's a simple mantra, so hum, not complicated. And its meaning is, I am that. And by that, it's referring to that which is beyond the limitations of our own personality or our preferences, our likes, our dislikes, beyond our trauma, beyond our fear, beyond that self-limitation, into the expansive, collective consciousness. I am that. I am part of the animating force that gives life to all things, that we are all interconnected. And so, yes, I am this, I am my body, I am my personality, I am my work, I am my place in the family, I am my place in the community. I am a collection of all those things. Yes, I am this, but I'm also that. I'm also the same. The seed of me, the essence of me is the same as the essence of each of you. And that's what binds us. And that essence is the same as the essence in everybody who's listening. And that's what binds us. And everybody who's not listening. And that's what binds us. And when we recognize that each of us is not so different from one another, then we have this potent tool for acceptance. Because if I am feeling vulnerable, then you are potentially feeling vulnerable, and that we're all just humans trying to navigate our way. So my advice is to just start. When the pandemic began, I thought, how do I best be of service? How do I contribute in this time? And people were reaching out because they were feeling isolated. So I chose to create a simple introduction to chanting via the vehicle of breath called Embracing Joy, because that's what I felt was needed, that we needed to find that little bit of light within ourselves and then help to nourish that through the repetition of sound. And therefore, if I am a little elevated, then I'm going to smile just a little more often. And if I smile a little more often, maybe that will help to elevate you. And so I created this course that offers an entry point into different types of sound, from a simple repetition of sound vibration, so hum, to more complex and diverse, from Vedic through to study like Patanjali Yoga Sutra, through to a little Bhakti Kirtan, just a little taste. And it's far from perfect and it's far from professional, but it's heartfelt. And hopefully it's an entry point so people can maybe then see that might be a direction that I'd like to go with further study. So I feel strongly enough about the power of sound to have made that the direction that I wanted to share in this particular time. So just start, I guess. Don't be afraid to hum a gentle vibration on the breath. Brahmari pranayama is just like the humming of a bee. And then open your mouth and change the sound, and before you know it, you're singing. And it can't help but make you feel so many things. And one of those is joy.
Dina, thank you so much. And I hope everybody checks out the work that you are doing. And we all need a little bit more joy, and joy very consistently. Cece, not to put any pressure on you, but we do have to end at the top of the hour.
What time is it?
It's 5 minutes till.
Okay.
You have time. You all want to hear it. You all want to hear it. I want to hear your advice.
Again, thank you for letting me, because I'm including everything all of these glorious goddesses have said. Thank you for that. Nina saying that a little bit a day, and there's no initiation, everyone can do it. And that's so important. Gently push all fears aside and all worries of being judged or what people think. Gently just push that aside. What Dina said about we are all one and we all need each other. And in my travels, the one thing I've learned, which is the biggest gift, is that we are more alike than we'll ever know. And that's something that I continue to remind myself. So when you come upon someone whom you think is different than you, just spend a little bit of time having a conversation in whatever way you choose. Smiling, elbow bumping. I'm not sure if we can still hug. A little melody or something like that. Or just a sweet conversation, and you'll find out that we just all want to communicate with each other. How important. And Belinda, let me tell you something. My advice is be brave, be wild, be free. And what you think you can't do, work up to trying it. We live this lifetime, and it is a gift. And when I was thinking about doing my CD, and Jai kept saying, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And Dave was like, when are you going to do it? Even Katie was like, are you going to do it? And I took so many years before I did it because I wanted to be me. I was raised in many different types of music. Classical. I listen to Beethoven every night before I go to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I listen to mantra Every morning I don't turn on the TV. I do not turn on the phone. I do not. I flood myself with the sweetness of that. And when I finally decided to do the album, This is Soul Kirtan, it was every bit of what the music I was raised, the roots I was raised in, reggae and gospel, southern blues, jazz, old school soul, not soul, but old school soul. All of that within the divine being the most important. And as Nina and Belinda said, blending it all together ferociously with no fear, but knowing that it was going to be okay because it was my heart. And if it didn't work out, fine. If it does work out, great. When you can turn and walk away from something you've done, knowing you've done everything you can and it'll be okay, that is the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone, because then your soul is satisfied. And no matter what anybody thinks, it is all good. So when it did come out, and when it was a mixture of so many perhaps confusing genres, but somehow blessedly and divinely so it reached the entire world, I smiled. Because then I understood, as Nina and Belinda said, a combination of everything is exactly what we need if it's connected to the divine and the mantra. And you mix it all up like a good old meal, and everybody gets a taste of it. And you never forget a good meal in the back of your tongue. It's like your brain and your mind remember that. So thank you for that reminder. And everyone, be brave, mix it up, take a chance. Instead of grabbing for something electronic in the morning, chill and put on music. Be a little silent. Stretch. Do some yoga. Go outside. Take a walk. Smile if you're wearing a... Smile with your eyes. Just practice some goodness, no matter how you're feeling. And I swear to you, molecularly speaking, spiritually, divinely speaking, it will change you. And to everyone who's taken chances, and to everyone who's mixed it up and put it out there in the world, somebody's going to hear it. They're going to tell 5, 10, 20 people, and they're going to hear it. And it's all going to come back to you in goodness. Not conceitment, not arrogance, not ego, none of that. It'll come back to you with love. Love. Pure, pure love. Music is love.
So on that note, Cece, what beautiful, beautiful words for us to complete on. That music is love, and that there are so many ways to express this. Thank you, all of you, for your generosity. And generosity was a word that Nina used. Thank you all for your generosity in this time, sharing, in being vulnerable, in sharing from your hearts and your lives, and in giving advice. And I hope that everyone listening to this takes some time to connect with these amazing women, these goddesses whose voices have such an impact on this earth, and that each and every one of you take the permission that you have been given to chant daily and remember that music is love. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Belinda, Dana, Cece, Nina, and Felicia. Really wonderful, very inspiring, very heartfelt session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope we get together sometime again.
I know we could have just done this all day, Kayoko.
Exactly, it was
Like, I
wonderful.
don't want to leave Nina and Lisa and Linda and Cece and you and
Yeah.
mhm.
We have so many more sessions today. So people who didn't listen to this will play replay and share till the end of the year. So thank you so much again.
Love you, Kayoko.
Thank
Love you, Belinda, Nina, Dina, and Felicia. Mwah.
Thank you. Lovely to be a part of it.
Thanks, David.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. What a wonderful, powerful session. Thanks so much, everyone.